The IFP says it will release a statement today following the killing of one of the party's councillors from Estcourt in KwaZulu-Natal. The man, whose name has not yet been released, was apparently shot and killed. IFP spokesperson Nkosi Langalibhalele says they are still liaising with law enforcement agencies to establish the details of the shooting. The councillor was apparently arrested last year together with a former mayor for allegedly plotting to kill the former speaker of the Mthembeni Municipality. Let's get more on this story now, and we're joined live by reporter in Estcourt, Mlungisi Khumalo. Mlu, thank you very much indeed for your time. What do we know? What's the latest? What are we learning with regards to this killing?
Yes, a good morning to our viewers at home and a good morning to you, Blaine. Yes, like you mentioned, in fact we can now name the person who's deceased. His name is Mthembeni Majola, who was a councillor here at the Mthembeni Municipality. Now, this is an area that also includes Estcourt and Winnen and other areas across the KwaZulu-Natal Midlands. What I can tell you right now, Ben, and confirm with you, is that we now understand that yesterday Mthembeni Majola was actually shot and killed, gunned down in this road, Estcourt Road. In fact, he was killed not far away from the Estcourt hospital. And I'm just going to tell my video journalist, Nati, to also just zoom out a little bit and just to show you as to what really transpired yesterday. What you can actually see over here is actually the blood. Now, according to some of the people and witnesses who were here, they believe that a number of assailants actually got out of their cars and started firing at the car that Mthembeni Majola was actually in. We also understand now, Blaine, that in that car there were also two passengers as well, but fortunately for them, they survived. One of them is in a critical condition, and we understand that he cannot speak. And what I can also tell you as well, Blaine, is when we got here this morning, members of the political task team who are investigating political killings in KwaZulu-Natal were also here as well. And what they told us is that we understand that Mthembeni Majola is actually a ward councillor who was in a wheelchair rather. Now, the reason for him to be in a wheelchair, we understand that he was shot a few years ago, and fortunately he survived. And we understand that now this is a third attempt on his life. And we are also told that in the car that he was driving, he tried to actually to crawl out, but unfortunately the killers did manage to get to him and actually killed him. And this is also some blood over here. We understand, we are told that he tried to crawl up and made his way over there, and this is when he actually demised, and this is when he was shot. Now, we understand that the two survivors are in critical condition, and we understand that one of them cannot actually speak, but we are told that they are also under police protection as we speak to you right now, Ben. And also, quite interesting enough about Mthembeni Majola, we understand that he also made an appearance at the Moirane Commission, where he told the commission that he understands that political killings in the province of KwaZulu-Natal still continue unabated. So he was one of the witnesses at the commission in 2017 plan. And also, quite interesting enough, Mr. Majola was quite a well-known person in the place of Estcourt. We understand that when we spoke to some of the people in the area as well, they told him that each and every person knew him over here. They believe that he was one of those figures who fought for service delivery. And of course, we understand, Blaine, that last year Mthembeni Majola was arrested along with the former Mthembeni mayor, Mr. Mbatha, and was also understand that he was also arrested with an alleged hitman. And they appeared in court just 4 days ago, Blaine, where the court was told that they believe that Majola was actually behind a conspiracy to commit murder. And I mentioned to you earlier on, Blaine, that today when we got over here, members of the political task team who are investigating political killings in the province of KwaZulu-Natal were also over here trying to comb the scene and try and get as much information as they can from this killing, Blaine.
Mlu, any reaction from the IFP as yet?
Yes, we understand, Blaine, that as I'm talking to you right now, a delegation of IFP leaders have actually made their way to the place of Mthembeni Majola. We understand that the provincial secretary is also leading a delegation over there. And of course, the party did say that it was shocked by this killing. Some members of the IFP have actually taken to Facebook as well. They've written on Mthembeni Majola's Facebook page saying that they are greatly distressed and shocked by the killings that still continue in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. And I mentioned to you, Blaine, earlier on that Majola was one of those people who went to the Morano Commission saying that him in particular as a person, they are against the political killing that's continued to happen in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So some of the comments that we saw on Facebook, we actually read a comment on Facebook which said that we understand, Majola, that you are a person who was a champion for the people, and we are very aggrieved by this, Blaine. And what I can also tell you right now, Blaine, is I'm not very far away from the Estcourt hospital, and that is where Mr. Majola was actually rushed to, but unfortunately he had already died on the scene.
Yeah. So the information that you're getting, Mlu, is that did the deceased pull over and then was approached by another vehicle and was shot at, or were they still in transit, or were they still driving and then the vehicle pulled over on the side of him? Just give us a sense of how it went down.
That's a very good question, Ben. In fact, when we spoke to members of the task team, in fact, I'm not actually going to divulge the name. What they said to us, they believe that there was a chase which actually ensued late last night at around 8 p.m. And as a result of that, Mr. Majola's car then skidded over here, and this is when the assailants actually opened fire. If you can just see down here, Plain, you can just see the oil spillage from Mr. Majola's car. So that gives you a sense of indication that, of course, there was a pursuit that happened last night, and unfortunately, these men then opened fire on Majola's car, and of course, we understand this is when Majola died. And not far from where I'm staying, Plain, I understand that one of the passengers over here was also in the car as well, also tried to run away, but unfortunately, he was shot, but fortunately he then survived the shooting. And I mentioned earlier on that Mr. Majola was a person who was in a wheelchair, so he got quickly out of the car and tried crawling out, but then the assailants did try and get hold of him, and of course they did shoot him and kill him in terms of that plane.
All right, of course, details are still sketchy. Investigations are still at an early stage. No doubt Mlu will bring us the latest with regards to the story. Mlungisi Khumalo live for us in Estcourt.